Hi everyone. I hope you can hear and see me. Please let me know in the comments. Sorry, we're just working through a couple of technical issues. Everything is a new adventure these days. So changes that have been going on within a very short amount of time. So I think it's as important as ever to come back to our practice. I'm just going to make sure that we don't have any distractions from my side. So just a moment of gratitude. Thank you guys so much for making time for this class and for making time for yourself. As always, it is a Thursday, so this is technically our vinyasa slot, and I definitely want to use this as an opportunity for us to get some movement in the body. I don't know about you guys, but I've been feeling very sluggish and very sort of stuck in this sort of mud and stress and anxiety. So I think it's really good to use this opportunity to get some movement in the body, maybe get a little bit of heat in the body. But I think also definitely use this as a session for a bit of restoration, a bit of soothing the nervous system. There's a lot of stimuli coming at us from various angles. So nervous system, I think, is really important. So I'm just going to double check. Seems like it's good. So I think we'll get started. So before we set up, if you want to play a little bit of music in the next minute or so while I just sort of explain what today's class is going to look like, if you want to get a bit of music going, you're welcome to. Otherwise, we can definitely just practice in silence today and just really focus into the sound of your breath. If you have any props that you might want to use, so maybe you have a couple of pillows or a little blanket that you might want to use. If you have blocks, obviously also nice to have, or even a wall. Anything goes today, I think. We're just here to test. And with that, so starting nice and easy, getting there nice and slow, just taking your time as we settle into our practice today. So getting nice and comfy, we can take a nice constructed rest pose. So taking your feet as wide as your mat, letting your knees fall together. This way the lower back is nice and supported. Maybe taking a second here as we really settle in to just lift up the chest slightly, just so you can really snuggle the shoulder blades underneath the heart space. So really it helps you to find an opening through the chest and through the shoulders. You don't have to work at it to hold the chest open, just a little bit of natural opening. And maybe placing one hand on the heart center, one hand on the belly, or both hands on the belly. Today's motto is really just finding what feels right for the body and what feels soothing for the body. And we'll just start to really tap into our breath and fall into our breath. So nothing fancy, just starting to really slow down our breathing. Inhaling through the nose. Maybe pausing slightly at the top and slowly exhaling, feeling the hands sinking down as the belly button sinks towards the spine. So when we're feeling a lot of anxiety or tension or stress, often the breath becomes really short and really shallow, so you want to breathe sort of as quickly as possible. The body's really trying to get oxygen, but it's kind of counterintuitive because the more shallow your breath is, often the more stressed you can feel. So using this couple of minutes at the beginning of our practice to really start to slow down the breath. Maybe just using a simple technique to lengthen the breath, maybe inhaling for 3 or 4 counts, holding for 2, and exhaling for 4 or 5 counts, so slightly longer than our inhale, and holding slightly at the bottom. So inhaling 2, 3, 4. Hold holding slightly. Exhaling, feeling the body sinking into the mat. 4, 5. And holding slightly. So maybe letting the eyes fall closed. And finding your own rhythm of slowing down your breath. So finding your own rhythm, just as long as it feels slightly slower than where you began. Taking 2 more rounds here at your own pace. And then slowly, we're going to just bring our knees into chest, really gently, rocking from side to side, giving the spine a little bit of love, maybe making little circles with the knees, giving the lower back some special attention. And just pulling into chest, maybe lifting up the nose towards the knees, so really squeezing into a little ball here. And releasing everything down. I'm going to slowly come up to a nice comfy seat, so whatever feels good here today. If you want to take a half lotus or sitting in a nice easy pose, remember you can always sit up on a blanket or a block here to give the lower back a little bit of extra attention. Wherever you are, just be nice and grounded in the hips. So we'll just start warming up the body, just nice and gentle. So we're going to inhale, bringing our arms up. And as we exhale, twisting over to your right side. So your right hand comes behind you. Left hand coming to rest on opposite knee. Inhaling, finding a little bit of length here. So think of growing nice and tall through the top of the head. And as you exhale, just think of the rib cage rotating here. So the hips stay nice and grounded. So it's just the rib cage rotating. Excuse me, maybe the body's feeling a little bit stiff. So maybe in the past or in other times when you're practicing, you're able to really rotate all the way around and your gaze starts to come behind you. But maybe today the body's feeling a little bit stiff, a little bit tired. So just taking the gaze nice and gentle over to the right. Doesn't have to come behind you, just as long as you're feeling nice and grounded through the hips and feeling that twisting through the abdomen, maybe feeling that skin of the torso twisting a little bit. Taking 2 deep breaths here. So inhaling, really feeling the belly fill up. And then coming back to center. We're going to inhale our arms up once again. And exhale, coming over to the other side now. So coming to the left. The left hand comes to rest behind you. Right hand comes to rest on this opposite knee. Inhaling to find length. Exhaling, maybe finding a little bit of a twist, even just the intention of twisting the body. Taking 1 more deep breath here. And coming back to center. We're going to place our right hand on the mat beside us. And we're going to inhale to sweep our left hand all the way up and over. So starting to lean weight into this right hand. If it feels comfortable, coming down onto the right forearm. You can again use a little block or something here to bring the ground up to you. Feeling nice and heavy through this left hip here. So feeling the stretch all the way from the left hip crease up under the arm, maybe all the way into a little finger. Just wiggling your fingers slightly. And coming down through center now. So sweeping the body through center, bringing your hands with you to come to the other. As we inhale, we're opening through with our right hand. So think of the chest upwards. So maybe you want to collapse a little bit here. So think of maybe taking your gaze underneath your arms slightly up to the ceiling, or if you're outside, lucky you, looking at the sky or out the window. We'll take one more breath here, wiggling our fingers slightly, and coming down through center. Almost like a half a child's pose here. So just reaching forward with the hands, coming up onto the fingertips. You can't see my fingertips, but up onto our fingertips here. As we reach forward, and slowly walking hands back towards us as we slowly stack the spine. Let the head be heavy, it's the last thing to come up. So we've got a little bit of warmth in the body, a little bit more wear of how our body's eyes flutter closed for a moment. And just taking a second to maybe see if you find an intention for today's class. So it can be a short positive statement, just something that you maybe want to resonate through this class in the next hour a bit. So maybe something comes to you naturally, maybe there's something you've been working with. But maybe it's something as simple as I give back to my body, remembering that during this time as we go through a health crisis, but also societal crisis, it does really take a toll, not only on your physical health, your mental health, emotional and spiritual health. So maybe just setting a gentle intention for this class to be all about nourishing the body, giving the body what it needs. Again, remembering that maybe sometimes that means pushing a little bit more than what you feel like, and sometimes that means just relaxing and meeting the body where you are. So wherever you are today, just taking a little moment, letting the head drop slightly as you set your intention for today's class. Take a deep breath in as you repeat it to yourself internally or even externally if you're practicing at home. It's the nice thing about home practice is you can talk to yourself as much as you like. And exhale, I give back to my body. And we imagine it is already done. So now coming forward onto all fours on our mat. So setting ourselves up nice and strong for a little bit of flow for our first portion of practice. So checking that knees are about hip width apart, so you can take two fists together, place them between the knees to give you a bit of guidance as to how to get that nice stacking sensation of the hips directly stacked over the knees. Hands stacked underneath the shoulders, so you're nice and steady in your base. We'll take a few rounds here of cat-cow. So just so that we can all see the fun shapes of the belly. We'll take a few rounds of cat-cow. So inhaling as we drop the belly, feeling that nice stretch through the front body. Gaze maybe comes forward slightly, chin comes up. And as you exhale, tucking the tailbone, rounding through the spine, we're pressing through the hands into our cat pose, so like you're an angry cat or a fussy cat. Inhaling, we're going to drop the belly into cow. So maybe the elbows bend slightly to really help you articulate that movement through the spine. Exhaling, tucking the tailbone, so really rounding nice and slow, seeing if you can almost visualize each vertebrae as it starts to flex in the opposite direction. Letting the head drop down between the hands for cat. Inhaling, we're going to drop the belly for cow pose. So you can start to add a little bit of gentle movement here as you move through your cat and cow, so you don't have to keep it static. You can add a little bit of rotation, maybe circling the body slightly. You can also close your eyes and just see how the body moves by itself today. Often the body will take us where we need to go if we just let it go there. So taking 2 more rounds, using your cat pose to really push the air out of the lungs. Very nice. Taking our big toes together, knees nice and wide. We're gonna just sit the hips back over the heels for a little extended child's pose. Inhaling to lift our right arm just slightly up so that we can exhale and thread it underneath the left, so coming down onto the right shoulder here. If the right shoulder doesn't want to meet the mat, you can always use a little cushion for a little bit of extra support. Keeping our extended left arm nice and active. If you want to take a little bit more of a stretch, you can always start to walk the left fingers over towards the right, starting to help you open up the chest a little bit. Also, you can just stay here, nice and straight with the arm, but just starting to warm up the shoulders slightly. Taking a deep breath in here, exhaling, sinking a little bit deeper. And slowly coming up, placing the right hand. Inhaling to lift up the left, and exhaling, we're going to thread the left arm underneath the right. Coming onto the left shoulder or pillow or blanket. Warming up through the shoulder joints, maybe walking the right hand over to the left if that feels good. Maybe the shoulders are very tight. Mine's very tight today, so I'm going to stay nice and straight. Coming back up onto all fours. Taking a moment to just tuck the toes. We're now back in our tabletop. We're going to tuck the toes. And we're going to just gently hover the knees off the mat. So just thinking like you're trying to slip a little sheet of paper underneath your knees. So keeping nice and engaged with the core. So if the body wants to start to sag like you're getting into cow pose, thinking of really engaging the core. Remember in some of our other classes we talked about this bottom of the ribs to the top of the hips, finding that gentle engagement so when the body starts to do this, finding that engagement to bring the bottom of the ribs and the top of the hips together so you're nice and tight through the core. So we're just gently hovering here, pressing through the hands. I'm going to take one more deep breath in here and exhaling, lowering down onto the knees, maybe walking hands slightly further in front of you so that we can tuck the toes and lift up into our very first downward facing dog of the day. So pedaling through, taking your dog for a little walk today. Nothing too fancy, although downward facing dog can be very fancy as well. So, taking making the most of this position. So really pedaling through the feet so you can start warming up the back of the legs. Checking in with our hands. You want to make sure palms are nice and spread, nice and wide. Your index fingers pointing towards the front of your mat. You're really pressing into the fingertips. That's giving you that stability. Bending the knees a lot so that you can really be nice and straight through the arms. So keeping the legs straight means you start coming over here, maybe bending the knees so that you can really push the hips up and back. You're going to take one more breath here And we're going to lower down, sit back on our haunches. Beautiful, maybe the body's feeling a little bit warm. I'm just going to check the comments to see if everybody is still with me. We're still good. Perfect. So we're going to come to stand at the top of our mats. We're just going to start with a nice little gentle vinyasa flow. So making sure you've got space. We're all just doing a little bit of makeshift space making. So sorry, I'm just going to adjust the angle so that you can more easily see me. So standing at the top of our mats, we're going to stand nice and supported in our mountain pose. So feet, again, about hip width apart, so you can test that with your 2 fists between the feet. And here, before we really start to stack up and really find that strength and integrity all the way up to the top of the body, first just lifting up all 10 toes, and then starting to plant them down, so pinky toe first, and to the others, all the way up until the big toe. So you're really gripping the mat with your feet, nice and strong. Think of gently engaging the upper thighs, so you're trying to pull the kneecaps up slightly so that you're engaging through the front of the legs. The bum is feeling a little bit of engagement too, so if the hips want to pop up back and pop back, and the bum maybe wants to start popping back, just finding that gentle engagement, almost like a little dinosaur tail that's dragging, making your bum nice and heavy here, so the lower body's already working. We're stacking the shoulders over the hips. We're not going to be here for long, so you'll be able to see my head again, but we're going to inhale, bring our arms up, and we're going to exhale, hinging at the hips, folding forward, letting ourselves stangle here in our first forward fold of today. So maybe grabbing opposite elbows, and just gently swaying from side to side, feeling the back of the legs. They've got a little bit of work during our downward dog, but maybe they still need a little bit of love. So letting the head be completely heavy. You can also keep a nice bend in the knees here. Swaying gently from side to side, releasing through the lower back. And then letting hands dangle again. We're going to take a nice deep breath in as we start to roll up through the spine, so keeping the legs bent, stacking the spine, letting the head be heavy. It's going to be the last thing to come up. We're going to inhale to bring our arms up, and exhale, hinge down again. We're dangling in our forward fold. To come up to halfway lift, so hands resting on our shins, our thighs, the top of your head reaching me, and exhaling, folding again. I'm going to inhale to bend our knees a lot so we can plant our hands nice and firm on the mat, and exhale to step back into our plank. Hold this plank for just a moment, just so that you can find that integrity that we had in our mountain pose. So the back of the legs nice and engaging through the core, lifting up the hips, spiking through the heels, spiking the feet to the back of the mat. And we're going to lower the knees for our first chaturanga. So inhaling to shift our weight forward, exhaling as we lower down, chest keeping the elbows nice and tight to the body, and then the hips roll in afterwards. Inhaling, we're going to come up into our first little baby cobra, little baby back bend, and exhale, release. You can still pedal through the feet slightly if you're still feeling like you need a little bit warm up. And our next inhale, bending the knees, looking forward, and bring the right foot to the front of the mat. So we're going to lower our back knee, and inhale to come up into a nice crescent lunge. So maybe finding a slight back bend as the gaze slightly comes up. You can also have hands, palms together in front of the chest, coming back down, lifting up the back leg, Inhaling to prepare, and as you exhale, just step to the front of the mat, dangling in our forward fold. We're going to inhale, come up to halfway lift. Exhale, collapse and fold one more time. Inhale, we're going to go straight back down into our flow. So inhale, bending the knees, placing the hands down. Exhaling to step back to our plank. We're going to lower knees again for this round. So inhaling to shift weight forward. Exhaling, pinching elbows into the side. Lowering down, chest first, then the hips roll in. Inhaling to come up into our cobra. And exhaling, up and over into our downward facing dog. Really pressing through the head. And then next inhale, bending knees a lot, looking forward, lowering our right knee. And we're going to inhale, palms together in front of the chest. Taking a deep breath in here. Exhaling, coming back down. And exhaling, we're going to step back to the front of the mat. Step back to the front. From here, we're dangling, roll up, so we're stacking the spine. The head remains heavy. On the mat, we're going to inhale to bring our arms up, and exhale, palms come together in front of the chest, letting the eyes close. Gentle flow here. I'm going to try not to fall and slip. Hopefully this is a little bit better. The great thing about what's happening of late is that it is forcing a lot of us to be a lot more creative than we knew we were capable of. So thank you for bearing with me as we make this space work. Here we are in our mountain pose, the top of our mat. So taking one more nice calming breath here, remembering we're staying nice and active through the legs. And then we'll go into our flow with a little bit more speed, so making our breath a little bit more rhythmical. So I'll cue us through the breath, but remembering to just go at your own pace, and if at any point the body's a little bit tired, child's pose is always waiting for you. She is your best friend. So we're going to inhale to bring our arms up. Exhale, hinging forward, hinging from the hips, folding forward, collapsing down into our forward fold. Inhaling to come up to halfway lift, so our gaze is straight down. Exhaling to fold. Inhale to bend the knees, place the hands on the mat. Exhale, stepping back into our plank. So you can try to do a full chaturanga with the knees up this time. Inhaling to shift our way forward, so coming forward onto your toes. Exhaling, coming down, elbows pinching the side. And as you inhale, coming into your back bend of choice. So you can come into upward facing dog, or you can come into cobra, so coming down slightly wherever you are. Taking one deep breath in, and as you exhale, tucking the toes, pushing hips back and up, downward facing dog. And the next inhale, bending the knees to look forward. And as you exhale, stepping right foot to the front of the mat. We're going to place our back foot at a 45-degree angle, keeping a nice bend through the front knee as we sweep our arms up for warrior one. So if keeping balance is a little bit difficult, you can always come onto the toes of the back foot. And here we will be in a nice warrior one, keeping a nice bend through the front leg, Remembering that your back leg is staying nice and active here, so you're not putting all of the weight here. Upper body is nice and straight, so you're not leaning forward, not leaning back. Warrior one. Taking a deep breath in. And as you exhale, planting the back foot now parallel to the back of your mat and opening up our arms into warrior two. So opening up your body to the side, but your gaze going straight over your right middle finger, bending through the front leg again, taking a deep breath in. As you exhale, maybe sink a little deeper, pressing through the back knife edge of this foot. Inhaling to shift our weight forward, and exhaling, coming all the way up and over with our right arm, into reverse warrior. So leaning the left hand on the left foot, on the left leg. Whew. Words are very difficult today. Remembering not to put all of your weight on your back leg, so you're still really engaging through the core as you go into this little back bend. Taking a deep breath in, exhaling, coming back to our warrior two, and pivoting down, back into a low lunge. So we're going to plant the hands, take a deep breath in, and as you exhale, step back into a plank. So you can take chaturanga here. I'm going to lower my knees because the body is tired. Inhaling to shift way forward. Exhaling, coming down, pinching elbows into the side, and inhaling into your back bend. Exhaling, pressing up and over, tucking toes, downward facing dog. Taking two nice breaths here. So pressing through the hands, heels pressing down to the mat, hips pressing up to the sky. On your next inhale, bending the knees, looking forward, stepping our left foot to the front of the mat, planting the back foot in a nice 45-degree angle, keeping the bend through the left foot, and sweep arms up and over into warrior one. Pressing through the middle and opening out to the side. Here, really important is check in with your front knee. So perhaps the knee wants to start doing this, folding inwards. So think of really working through the outside of the hip to keep the knee nice and open. The right hand, just to give you a bit of stability, not putting weight into this knee. That can be really dangerous for the knee joint. Remember, you can always come up slightly with the bend here if it's a little bit difficult, but you can also sink down into your front knee for a bit more of a challenge. Woo! I'm going to take a little break, got a little bit of a cramp. So coming back to our warrior two and pivoting back down into a lunge. We're going to step back into our plank. So taking a chaturanga, we're going straight to downward facing dog. So inhaling to bring the weight forward, exhaling, come down, elbows pinching the sides, and inhaling to come up into your back bend. Exhale, pressing up and over, downward facing dog. We're going to stay here for 3 nice deep breaths. So this is technically a resting pose. So see if you can find a sense of stillness. Remembering with the arms that you want to keep the front of your elbows rotating to the front of the room. So that's going to help you stay nice and open for your shoulders. Taking one more breath here. On your next inhale, looking forward, and exhaling to step to the front of the mat for a nice dangling forward fold. And on your next inhale, slowly rolling up, stacking the spine. Inhaling to bring arms up, letting palms kiss, and slowly letting palms rest in front of the chest, feeling the heart pumping, blood all around the body, starting to get a little bit warm. So keeping eyes closed here if that feels comfortable. Taking a couple of breaths here just to scan the body, see how it feels, to get a bit of going through the body. To start cultivating awareness in parts of the body that maybe have been on autopilot for the past couple of hours or days or even weeks. Also taking this opportunity to grab a little drink of water, which I'm going to do. Beautiful. So from here, I just want to keep an eye on our time because I think it's definitely important that we get some nice restorative work in. But from here, we're going to stay facing the long edge of our mat. We're just going to take our legs about a meter or so apart, keeping our toes facing a nice 45-degree angle. Inhaling to bring our arms up into a nice star. And this is a great posture for cultivating a little bit of stability, cultivating a little bit of heat in the body. We're going to go into horse pose. So from here, all you want to think about doing, bending the knees, keeping the knees tracking out over the feet, so knees aren't coming like this. Knees are tracking out over the feet, so you're really engaging the outside of the legs as you sink down. And as you sink down, bringing your arms into this beautiful cactus shape here. So we're in a nice, firm horse pose. So thinking here of knees opening out, of bum going straight down. So I'll give you a little side profile so that you can see of just as if you're trying to sit directly on something. Beautiful. So coming up into our star and exhaling as we sink down into our horse pose. Coming up into our star. Exhaling, sinking down into horse pose. So maybe lifting up the toes to really feel like you're activating into the feet. Coming up into our star. Sinking down. We're going to stay here. And as we inhale, we're going to almost think of like you're doing a little cat-cow. So as you inhale, the chest is going to come forward, arms are going to come back. And as you exhale, curving through the spine. Hands can go cow pose. Exhaling into cat. So we're mixing horse and cow. We're creating a beautiful hybrid here as we cultivate some nice strength in the lower body. Doing one more round. Opening the chest, maybe gaze goes up. One more exhale. And coming back up into our star. And the hands come to the hips. We're going to turn the feet out so the toes are pointing straight forward. And from here, we're just going to go into a nice wide-legged forward fold. So starting hinging at the hips. So head reaching forward. And then from here, hands can stay on the waist if your balance allows today. But otherwise, starting to bring hands down to the ground in front of you. So a nice place to put a block underneath the face or a couple of blocks. Just to bring the ground up towards you slightly. And if this feels okay, and you feel like maybe you have a bit more space, starting to walk the hands between the feet. So you're almost thinking of trying to get the top of your head to come down to the mat. Doesn't matter if it actually does. That's just the intention that we're working with. So thinking of keeping your hands nice and planted, using your hands, using the strength and this base that you're creating with your feet and with your legs to be able to start to bring the head, the top of the head, down to the mat. If you'd like, you can take a nice bind, grabbing onto the big toes here, or grabbing onto the ankles. then from here, we're just going to walk our hands over to the left side. And if you can, pivot the left foot so that the left toes are pointing forward. And now here you are in a nice, beautiful, extended position over our left leg. So feeling a deep stretch over the left leg, remembering several things. So you can always use blocks to give you a bit of support. You can keep a nice bend in your front leg so that you're not locked out here, especially if the back of the legs are tight. And you can also shorten this distance. So you can also step your back foot forward a little bit. But from here, just thinking of releasing the head down, so finding a nice stretch through the back leg, keeping a little bit of strength in this, finding stretch through the front leg, keeping strength in the back leg. And now we'll walk back through center, so taking your blocks with you if you need to, coming over to the right side now, and turning the right toes now to face the short edge of your mat. Again, using the blocks here, or a little bit of furniture, even wool. Just finding some nice length through the back of the body. Coming back through center. And if a squat is in your practice, then this is a nice opportunity for us to go into a nice yogi squat. You can again use blocks or anything here for a bit of extra support. So bringing your feet a little bit closer together, and then we're just sinking the hips down. So feet are pointed outwards slightly, and we're sinking the hips down, trying to keep the upper body nice and upright. So hands, elbows onto the inside of your knees. If keeping palms together is a little bit difficult, as you can see, with long arms, trying to bring your palms together to your chest means I would have to open my knees all the way out. You can also grab opposite elbows and have them nice and tucked onto the inside of the knees. It makes it a little bit easier. And then once you're here, settling into your breath. So this is a beautiful massage for the hip joints, where, as I'm sure you've heard from a lot of different yoga practitioners and in a lot of different yoga spaces, that the hips can hold a lot of tension, a lot of emotion, not just because of energetic reasons, but also just where they are situated in the body. There's so much important movement that resonates from the hips, that comes from the hips, so whether it's walking, sitting, standing, driving, a lot of the things that we do sort of rely on us having healthy and stable hips. So taking a little time to give them a little bit of extra love is never a bad thing. So I'll take a few more breaths here. And then you can come back onto your hands, just shift any blocks out of the way, and come to sit on our mat. I hope everyone's still doing good. I'm just going to very quickly check to see if any messages have come in, anything we should be aware of for the rest of our class. Beautiful. So we've got about 30 minutes left, so I think it would be really nice to do some nice deep restorative work. As we've said, our practice is not only about cultivating strength and about really seeing what the body can do and trying new and exciting things and finding new challenges, but it's also sometimes about just finding some nice, gentle, soothing motions for the body. So we're going to start coming down onto our mat, lying down flat. We'll start with just a nice, simple supine twist. So lifting up the shins, so they're parallel to the floor, letting our arms come out to the side, and we're just going to start by letting the knees fall over to the left side. Woo. So remembering here that you can slide a pillow or a blanket underneath the knees to make the stretch a little bit less intense. You can slide something in between the legs as well. And once you're nice and comfy, start to really focus in on our right shoulder. So maybe the right shoulder is starting to roll up. Seeing if you can really ground through the right shoulder. So think of the right shoulder reaching back to be flat on the mat. Again, lifting up the legs and making the stretch a little bit less intense can really help with making sure that both of our shoulders are nice and firm on the ground. Once you're nice and comfy here, maybe taking your gaze over to your right. So starting to slow down. The nervous system as we move into making any adjustments. And using this as an opportunity to focus back into our breath. So when we're in a vinyasa practice, often the movement is what is synced to our breath, and we use our inhales and our exhales to guide the body into movement. With restorative work, our aim is to keep the body still and to give the body space to be as still and as heavy as possible. So a really nice opportunity to come back into that long, slow breath that we started with at the beginning of our class. So inhaling for 3 or 4 counts, and holding, and maybe exhaling for 4 or 5 counts. Can give a really nice opportunity to scan the body gently, see how the body is feeling after finding that gentle movement. And remembering if you're feeling any discomfort, especially in the back, probably just come out of this twist. I'll show you, you can come into a nice supported bridge, so maybe just lifting up so you can slide a nice pillow or blanket underneath the hips. This is a really nice restorative posture. Anything that raises the hips above the level of the heart is a really good way to calm the body down. It's a nice little yoga hack for you. So we'll hold here for another 5 breaths or so. If there's any parts of the body that are maybe feeling particularly tight, almost think of every inhale as a little stream of energy, a little stream of awareness. And as you inhale, directing that stream to wherever in the body you're feeling discomfort. So maybe it's in the hip joint, maybe it's in the hip flexors if they're feeling tight. Breathing that awareness into that area. And as you exhale and as that little stream leaves the body, maybe it takes some of the tension with it. Maybe leaves a little bit of space for more ease, for more surrender in the body. Taking 2 more breaths at your own pace here. And slowly coming back to center. Maybe just bringing knees into chest really gently. And finding that slow rocking from side to side if that feels good for the lower back. And for the spine in general. And then we'll take our supine twist to the other side. So if you need your pillow or blanket on the other side, remembering you can always go back to your supported bridge pose. But letting knees fall over to the right now if you're taking this twist. See if you can keep both shoulders nice and heavy on the ground. So keep them both making contact with the ground, spreading arms out to the side. And maybe your gaze goes over to your left shoulder. And as we settle into the side, how the side of the body feels. Often one side can be a lot tighter, or feel a lot tighter or looser than the other side. So just bringing a nice sense of awareness to the body, without any judgment or trying to fix anything. If maybe the side of the body feels a little bit tighter, doesn't twist as far, just being aware of it and then just letting it be. So with every inhale, maybe even letting a hand rest on the belly so that as you inhale, you feel the hand rising as the lungs fill up so much that the belly starts to rise as well. And as you exhale, the belly button sinks down towards the spine, feeling the hand lower. Supine twist is also a really nice posture for helping with digestion, giving organs a little bit, internal organs a little bit of massage. So lots of benefits here, not just for the spine, but also just for the very functioning of our body. And when the body's under stress, we can use all the help we can get. Taking 5 more breaths here. Seeing if pausing at the top of your inhale helps to maybe slow down the exhale. So maybe the body wants to rush to get through the breath. Pausing at the top can help just remind the body we've got all the time in the world here for breathing. And slowly bringing our head back to center, bringing legs back to center, pulling knees into chest gently, so you can just gently rock from side to side. Beautiful. So from here, we're going to slowly come up to a seat, taking our time again. I would definitely suggest maybe having some cushions or something nearby, just so that you can have a little bit of support for our next posture, which will be shoelace. So extending both of our feet nice and long in front of us. First, we'll be pointing and flexing feet slightly, just to give them a little bit of extra tension. Maybe look at your toes and think about how great they are. And now bending the right knee, bringing the right foot over the left leg, and then starting to pull the right foot back towards sort of the left bottom cheek. So here we are in half shoelace. This is already feeling like quite a deep stretch for the outside of the right hip here. Then you're welcome to stay at half shoelace. But if you'd like to take the full posture, then bending the bottom leg as well. So we've got our legs stacked on top of each other, remembering not so important if the knees are directly on top of each other. It's more important that both of your sitting bones are nice and grounded in the mat. So even if your legs look a little bit more like this. That's perfectly fine. We'll take a moment here to just give the feet a little bit of a rub, a little bit of a massage. Can never go wrong with a bit of a foot massage here. And then from here, we're just going to find a nice passive forward fold over our bent legs, which is why having some cushions or blankets is a nice little hack. You can still see my head. So from here, all you're thinking of doing is just letting the head, the torso come forward over our little cushion pile here that we've set up. So you can have your head resting on your hands here, or you can let hands rest on the ground. You can let, if you want to put face plant into your cushion, and you can do that without feeling like you can't breathe. You're welcome to do that. But what you're trying to do is be really passive with the upper body and let all of the weight start to rest on top of your bent legs. And we're coming to shoelace here. So a posture that gives a lot of love to the lower part of the body, but also it's a little bit of almost finding traction for the spine, so letting the weight of the spine and the weight of the head give you a little bit of gentle lengthening through the back body here. So setting up however you need to be nice and comfy here. Remembering you can always adjust as we go. We'll be here for a couple of minutes only. So just setting yourself up nice and comfy, nice and cozy. And starting to come back into the breath. So if the hips are really tight, and this is, it may look like it's quite a small movement for the body, but it can be really challenging for the legs to be stacked on top of each other like that. We're creating shapes of the body that it usually doesn't take in our everyday life. So again, thinking of our breath as that little stream of awareness. If the hip joints are feeling a little bit tight, with every inhale, thinking of breathing that little energetic stream of awareness into that hip joint. And as you exhale, the stream leaves that area, maybe taking with it a little bit of tension. But remembering that you should never feel any pain. So if you're starting to feel pain, especially in the top leg, I would recommend just untucking the bottom leg and rather taking half shoelace and just coming down like this rather. This is also super beneficial, also feels really, really nice. And gives you the added benefit of also giving a little bit of lengthening through the back of your left leg. So it's a win-win, whatever we choose. But we'll take 10 more deep breaths here. Filling the belly as we inhale. Maybe feeling the belly pressing against the legs or your cushions or whatever you may be using for support. Finding that pause at the top of the breath before we exhale fully. Just taking a few more breaths in this posture. The nice thing about home practice is you can really focus into the sound of your breath, so there's no other distractions. It's almost letting your breath be your little soundtrack. especially with restorative work. And then slowly we're coming up, uncrossing, unraveling one or both legs, depending on whether you're full shoelace or half shoelace. And then just leaning back onto our forearms. We're just going to have a nice gentle bend in the legs as we do little windshield wipers with the legs. So taking the knees from side to side. So taking them as far or as little as you'd like to go, so you can keep the movement nice and small, keeping it up here. Or you can go all the way down, letting the knees almost kiss the mat from side to side. Getting blood flow back into the hip joints, massaging the hip joints. Beautiful. And then coming up, stretching both legs, nice and long in front of us, and then bending the left knee. We're going to take shoelace on the other side. So crossing the left foot over our extended right leg, and then bringing the left foot towards the right bum cheek here. If half shoelace is your vibe today, then we're going to stay here. If you'd like to take full shoelace, tucking underneath your bottom leg, so that the legs are stacked, making sure, most importantly, both sitting bones nice and grounded on the mat, so you're not leaning from one side to the other. You're nice and stable here. Giving the feet a little bit of massage again. Never skip the opportunity for foot massage. And then from here, inhaling, finding that length. And as you exhale, bringing the upper body to lie, just relax passively over our bent legs. So if you have the flexibility and if you have the space today, you can just come down over the legs. This can also be a little bit intense and maybe uncomfortable. So remembering to use your blocks or blanket, pillow, however you may want to. Sometimes it's a bit of a learning game, so you just sort of play around until you get to the feeling that you want. And once you're nice and supported, just letting the head rest down. Then we'll hold here for a couple of minutes in shoelace. So hands can be underneath the head. You can have hands resting next to your side. You can even have hands continuing to give you a little foot massage if it feels good. But once you've settled in, again, giving the body a little bit of a gentle scan, just seeing what are the parts that may need a little bit of extra love, a little bit of extra attention with the breath. Remembering that with restorative postures, often it can feel quite challenging for the body to hold certain positions. And there's good reason, like the body, when it's put in a position that maybe feels unfamiliar, the muscles often will tense up because your body's first instinct is to protect you. So it's trying to stop you from going too far into a posture and maybe get injured. So that's the body's natural response. And sometimes, the beautiful thing about restorative practice is that holding the body in the posture for a little bit longer gives us time to realize we're not in any danger, that there is space for a little bit of release, there is space to find a little bit of ease. So just using the breath and just being patient with the body. We'll hold here for another 5 or 6 breaths and making any adjustments as we close out this posture. Taking a couple more breaths here. And slowly we're going to come back up, shifting any props out of the way. Gently uncrossing the legs. And coming to lean back onto the forearms once again. So we can come into our little windshield wiper. So taking this nice and slow, you can never go too slowly with restorative yoga and any restorative work. So really feeling out every little centimeter of movement here. Really being aware of how it feels different at this angle and how it feels different as you keep going, intensifying the movement. Taking a couple more rounds. And then coming back to center. Coming to find a nice comfortable seat. We'll do a little bit of work for the upper body as well. We don't want to neglect any parts of the body. So we're going to come to lie flat on our mat, on our bellies. So nice and comfy. And then from here, we're just going to come up into a simple Sphinx pose. So you want to check that your elbow is underneath your shoulder, so it's not too far out here, not too close together as well. So you want to find that nice stability. And then checking in that your arms are nice and parallel. So think of your arms as two train tracks. You don't want them coming in, going out. You want to have this nice regal stance like a sphinx. Check in with the lower back here before you start to really release your weight. Check in with the lower back if maybe you'd like a little bit of support, so a little blanket or a cushion underneath the rib cage, just to give a bit of support. That's one option. You can also, I'm just going to bend my legs because I'm so incredibly long. You can also, remember, walk your hands forward slightly. So make the angle of your Sphinx pose a little bit less intense. So rather than being all the way up here in our full Sphinx pose, you can walk elbows forward slightly to make this angle slightly less intense. And then from here, if it feels good, just letting the head completely release. So finding that stretch going down the back of the head, maybe between the shoulder blades. Again, great place if you have a block or anything to slide underneath the forehead. So just give a bit of support here. With restorative work, we're always trying to give the body as much support as it can get, so that it can fully find release and find that ease, find that space. But being very aware if you have, especially if you have any lower back problems, making this back bend as small as possible, or if it feels uncomfortable, just skipping it all together, and you can take a nice child's pose or any nice comfortable pose that you'd like while we go through Sphinx. As we settle into our Sphinx here, as our hips maybe start to feel like they're pressing, the front of our hips are pressing more heavily into the mat, or sinking into the mat, and And as our head starts to release, it may not look like the most intense back bend or heart opening posture, but remembering that a little bit goes a long way. And this combination of keeping movements quite gentle and giving the body lots of time to adjust into it, that's how we get the magic of our restorative practice. So holding here for about 10 breaths, let's all find our rhythm with our breath, using our breath as our little soundtrack today. Taking 3 breaths here more. And then slowly we're going to shift any props out of the way so we can come to lie flat on our belly once again, placing one hand on top of the other, letting the head rest on top of our hands. We'll wiggle forward slightly so that I can be completely flat on my mat. So letting the eyes fall closed here. Just keeping an eye. And from here, if it feels good for the lower back, think of pressing first the front of the right hip and then the front of the left hip into the mat. So it's going to look like you're swaying your bum gently from side to side. And make that movement really small, really gentle, really slow. So you don't want to be here. You want to make it nice and slow to give the back time to relax back into place after that little back bend. And from here, our last little posture is just going to be a nice gentle chest opener, a little heart opening as we go into the rest of our evening. So we'll start on the left side, so extending the left arm out to the side. You're going to plant your right hand underneath your right shoulder, bend the right foot, and using your right hand, start to roll over onto your left side. So this bent leg is going to start to roll over behind you. So maybe your right foot doesn't touch the ground behind you. It can rest on whatever this is behind me that something is resting on, or you can just keep your legs stacked one on top of the other. What's important here is that your left shoulder is nice and firm into the mat. Your left palm is face down, palm down onto the ground. So you're starting to find a nice opening through not only the shoulder joint, but also maybe the chest is opening slightly. So seeing how intense you want to make this, remembering you can play with the angle of your left arm. So you can bring your left arm slightly down. You can bring your left hand down slightly to make the stretch less intense. So play around. Everybody's bone structure is a little bit different, so it's going to feel comfortable for everybody in a little bit of a different way. And we're just going to hold here for 5 more breaths. So using the right hand to help you lean over, sort of pivot your weight over, using the left shoulder as a little bit of a fulcrum, Wow, who knew that high school physics would come in handy for yoga? Taking 2 more breaths here. And slowly coming back to roll onto your front now. So using your right hand to help guide the weight over nice and slow. Beautiful. Taking a moment to just rest in our center position. So one hand on top of the other. Just letting the spine adjust. And then preparing for our shoulder stretch on the other side. So extending our right arm to the side. Now remember, you can play with the angle, so you can shift the palm up or down depending on how your shoulder joint feels. Planting through your left hand underneath the shoulder, bending your left leg, and we're going to slowly start to roll over onto the right side. So starting to roll onto the right shoulder. Remembering you want to make sure that your right palm is facing the ground. So you want to have your palm down onto the ground. As we come into this gentle, maybe not so gentle shoulder stretch, remembering you can make the stretch less intense by just stacking the legs like this. So you can even come into a sort of little position like this to make it less intense. Holding here for 5 more breaths. I'm just going to cue verbally so that I'm not talking to the back of the room. So really feeling that stretch opening through not only the shoulder, also the collarbone, keeping the head resting down on the mat if you can. Taking just a few more breaths here. I'm just going to get us ready for the close of our class. And we're going to slowly roll back onto our front. So coming back to lie on the belly, hands underneath the forehead or the cheek. And we're just going to gently rest here for a couple of breaths. And then moving nice and slow, taking your time. We're going to come to lie on our backs as we begin to close our class. So remembering you can take full Shavasana if you'd like to. So I'm just going to switch on the light. So you can take full Shavasana, extending your feet wide to the bottom of your mat, letting the toes fall out, taking up lots of space, letting arms fall open to your sides. If the lower back feels like it would like a little bit more support, you can also bend the knees, take a nice constructed rest pose, take the feet as wide as the mat, let the knees fall together. Wherever you are, maybe lifting up the chest slightly so that we can just snuggle the shoulder blades underneath the heart center. Maybe seeing if that feels a little bit easier, if there's a little bit more openness after some of the work that we did here, not only warming up the muscles of the body, but also stretching all those fibers and the joint tissues and ligaments during our restorative work. But wherever we are, starting to settle down into the mat. So taking that sense of peace and ease and slowness and heaviness from our restorative practice, and really sitting in that space as we come to the close of the physical movement of our session today, of our practice today, and fall back into whatever our natural rhythm of breath is. Taking a moment to scan the body. So starting from the top of the head, feeling the muscles of the face softening, the muscles of the jaw, letting the tongue be heavy in the mouth. Feeling the back of the head supported by the mat, the floor, whatever surface you're on. The shoulders spreading down, the back of the arms against the ground. Feeling the spine supported by your mat. Letting the muscles in the belly be nice and loose. Not holding, just letting the body move naturally as breath comes in and out of the lungs. Feeling the legs heavy. Feeling all the parts of the back body that are supported by the mat. And now taking a gentle awareness inside. Just scanning the body. Just feeling the energy flowing through the body. Maybe pathways feeling a little bit clearer. Maybe blockages feeling a little bit less stopped up. I'd encourage you, if you have a little bit more time, to stay in Shavasana for as long as you need to this evening, or whenever you're taking your practice. Taking this time to find a little bit of gratitude for yourself, for neglecting or for not neglecting yourself, rather, for taking care of yourself through your practice, just getting on the mat and finding your breath, remembering how important it is to take care of yourself even as we work to make sure we can take care of each other and keep each other safe. So bringing your hands together in front of the chest, giving yourself words of gratitude for taking this time to give back to your body. Thank you for joining today's practice. And stay safe, take care of yourself, and take care of each other. Namaste.